Good morning and welcome to Ask the Expert. This is a daily series between 8:30 and 9 a.m. every day, Monday to Friday, to help small businesses during the COVID-19 period. If you want to ask any questions throughout this series, throughout today's episode, please put them in the comments or hashtag QBATE at Twitter. If you need any more advice or support after this session, make sure you join the official Intuit QuickBooks SMB business group on Facebook. There's accountants and bookkeepers and business experts there 24/7, all really helpful and willing to help answer your questions when you have them. QuickBooks have also created a dedicated site on their linked through their website for all COVID-19 support. It's really helpful as you're coming out of lockdown to look at that and work out how you can get ready to move on from the lockdown period of your business. To visit that, just go to the QuickBooks website, scroll down a little bit and tick one of the big Learn More buttons under the header Support for You and Your Business During COVID-19. My name is Johann. I am the Managing Director of JGBC. We're an accounting, bookkeeping, tax and payroll firm. Our team is dotted across the UK, supporting clients dotted across the UK. Personally, I am currently based in Edinburgh, where it is pouring down on this wonderful Friday morning. And my team are dotted throughout primarily Scotland, but a couple of people are dotted into the UK, into England. So it's Friday. We wanted to just summarise what's happened this week, maybe give you some updates that you've not seen or heard yet, because you've been busy planning to take your business out of close down and lockdown period. So what's happened in the last week? Well, in the last week, flexible furlough happened on Wednesday. So this means that you can now bring back your staff on a reduced hours basis, but they'll still get their full wage supported by the furlough claims that can be submitted to HMRC. This means that your staff can come back for a couple of hours where you need them to help gradually reopen your business, where you've got a reduced trade. They'll get paid 100% for those hours that they've worked, and the rest of their income would be supplemented from the government as part of your furlough claim. In other news, where the LTD that didn't come out very publicly, is on the 26th of June, the government passed a new law, and it went to royal assent on the 26th of June, meaning that as of the 27th of July, Companies House could temporarily extend all limited companies' annual accounts filing deadlines. So normally you've got 9 months to file your accounts after your financial year end. But if your accounts were due to be filed between the 27th of June 2020 and the 5th of April 2021, then your accounts will now get an extra 3 months grace for the filing period. This ensures that you will have more time to spend on your business as it comes out of lockdown, rather than focusing on the administration or doing your year-end accounts. It also gives accountants and bookkeepers more time to be able to process this because, for example, our firm's really lost a lot of time supporting our clients in COVID-19 mode. We've been looking at how to help you get grants and furlough claims, etc., which means we haven't been able to do all the accounts and tax returns that we'd normally get done in the same period of time. So that gives us all an extra 3 months to try and get back on top of everything and make sure we're focusing on what's relevant at the time. Also, we're starting to see letters coming out from HMRC about Making Tax Digital. These are reminders that if you should be on Making Tax Digital but aren't yet. So just as a reminder, if you are VAT registered and your annual turnover is over £85,000 in a 365-day period, then you should be on Making Tax Digital platform. And basically what that means is you should be using accounting software to file your VAT returns. So the prime candidate would be QuickBooks. Our firm uses QuickBooks for all of our clients' MTD claims. It's very quick, it's very easy. QuickBooks helps sense check everything, so you get more confidence in it being right. And then it files it directly to HMRC's portal, where you can no longer log in and just manually file the data yourself. So there's a various range of types of letters going out. They're doing a bit of A/B testing, as the marketing world would call it. So the letter we sorted recently was one where it was just a very polite reminder. They were just saying, look, you should be on this. can you please move in the next few months onto Making Tax Digital software? Make sure you're submitting it through the right channels rather than the old channels. But we're told that there are some more blunt letters out there with deadlines. At the moment, I've not seen anything referring to fines for not doing this, but I would strongly advise, if you're not on MTD software like QuickBooks yet, then get on there as soon as you can. And if you're in lockdown for a couple more weeks, now's a really good time to have a look at that and start getting it ready and sorted. The other main bit of news is that we are now told to expect an emergency budget on July the 8th. So next week, there'll be an emergency budget. They've not called it a budget, but there'll be an emergency statement that all but in name is a budget. And that budget is going to be designed to help stimulus the UK's economy, which is struggling at the moment due to the lockdown. So I'm going to put a disclaimer in here. These are not facts, they're not figures. This is an educated guess based on previous budgets that have been designed to support an economy and what we've seen in the media recently of what we could expect from that budget. But it's important that as business owners, we all start looking at what might come in the next few weeks in regards to a budget. So we're expecting VAT rates to be changed and we're expecting them to drop down. We're not expecting them to increase. We have seen lots of speculation as to what they're going to drop by, but ultimately, whenever there's an economy crisis, VAT is a really easy go-to solution for the government to reduce the VAT rate, which will help stimulus the economy by people spending more because everything's a bit cheaper. The other areas we're expecting some changes in are the apprenticeship levy. So this is designed to help encourage businesses, mainly bigger businesses, to take on apprenticeships and facilitate those to help create more jobs. And it also fits in nicely with the government's Build, Build, Build campaign that Boris Johnson announced last week. So we think that's a fairly certain thing to happen. There's a lot of speculation and expectation that business rates are going to be reviewed in a big reform. Currently, they're based on quite an archaic system where it's assumed everyone's going to be based on high street, meaning there's a high business rates bill for the high street and it's not overly fair for high street businesses. What that reform's going to do and how it's going to look, we're not quite sure yet, but we expect there to be some announcement on business rates there in this budget. And the other final part for this budget that we think is going to be pretty certain to happen is we're going to see a review of the research and development tax credit system. So this system's designed to encourage development of softwares and processes and hardwares within the UK by giving companies that do the research and development some tax credits towards their corporation tax, in turn reducing that. And there's often quite a big rebate as well to be done. So this will potentially help stimulus the economy again. But what we're also thinking is that there's a lot of small businesses out there who could claim research and development tax credits and they don't. So it's really important that you have a think, have you got any projects that have developed new software, new systems, new processes? Have they developed new ways of cooking food for a menu? Have you turned a fish and chips into a vegan option, for example? All those kind of processes can be considered towards a research and development claim. So it's really important that if you've done anything like that, you have a chat with your accountant. If your accountant doesn't specialise in R&D, then obviously you can Google for someone that does. Just be really careful when you're Googling, because there's a lot of firms that just do R&D and they can take quite a large percentage of the claim for their fee, because most of them work on a percentage of the amount they recover. So just make sure you do a bit of research and you get a really good rate as competitively as you can before you sign up to anyone in particular. Okay, so let's crack on. Let's get the Friday started. So we've got our first question coming in from Erica from Twitter DM. Me and some of my colleagues, 5 out of 10, are being put on flexible furlough. I feel like we will work way over time as I can't see the work has been reduced to fit the hours. What can we as employees do? I am all for contributing extra, but also very much value work-life balance. So, Erica, it's really important that you talk to your boss. I mean, what I'll do, for example, for the first week is just go back and see what happens, because the boss might have got new systems and processes in place, your employer, not your boss necessarily, which then means that your workload is reduced, and they've just not told you about that yet. Most businesses are going to see a reduced output and a reduced number of customers because of the COVID-19 social distancing rules. They can't serve as many customers at the same time as they used to. So if you are working all hours, then you're going to get 100% for your wage. And if they need you to do extra hours, then it may be worth saying to employer, can we not bring back other people so we can maintain a good work-life balance? But it's about honest, open communication with your employer, and just going back and seeing how it gets on. I would say to everyone at this moment in time, we're in a very unknown scenario here of going back to work after a period of time off. There's a lot of differences happening, because considering what there was to start with just 100 days ago, processes and systems of work are changing. I've got clients that are creating apps so they don't need to have people go up and serve people on tables and take orders from tables in bars and restaurants. We've got all sorts going on. So I think we just need to we need to go in with an open mind, expecting there are going to be changes, and just working with them. And if those changes aren't working, and you are doing overtime and stuff while others are off, then sit down and have that honest conversation with your employer. But yeah, we just need to all be open and adaptable at this time to make sure that businesses survive rather than struggle and go under, and then we're all out of our jobs. Krishna from Instagram DM. Hello, Johann. With MTD, what is meant by digital record? We'll be looking to file our VAT return very soon, so don't want to go wrong with it. So MTD basically means that you should be using an accounting software which digitally transmits the data from your accounting software into HMRC's system. It means basically you can no longer log into the portal at HMRC and enter the numbers manually. HMRC did loads of maths 5-6 years ago now, which basically said the amount of money that businesses overpay and the economy loses out on in other places because of data entry issues where people are writing 6s instead of 9s when they're typing numbers in. That's why they've created Make and Tax Digital, so that information can be created and transmitted digitally through a link, like email to email, for example, so that you don't have to enter those numbers manually and risk to get the data entry errors that we used to see. So that's what it's meant by digital. It should be an interface to interface without any human interaction other than the pressing of the send button. So I hope that helps. Abdul from YouTube live feed. Can you please explain how you make a record of consumption of fixed assets in an ideal way? Abdul, I think you need to talk to your accountant for that one. There's multiple different methods. We've got straight line and reducing. So you need to have a little chat to an accountant about what the asset is, what it does, how long its life expectancy is, what its value is, what your company's rules are going to be, because once you create your rules for assets, you need to follow them going forwards. And you also need to work out what percentage you're going to reduce things at. So yeah, probably really, there's a lot more specific and detail that you're going to need for that. So it's worth putting that all together and having a chat with your accountant. If you want to have a chat with myself or on my team, just drop us an email to info@jgbc.co.uk. We'll be happy to try and help you out there. Got Gwyneth from Twitter on DM. Good morning, Johann. I've submitted my VAT return without a direct debit within QuickBooks. Is there any way of correcting it? So if you've entered the incorrect data into your VAT return through QuickBooks and you've filed it already, providing the error is less than £10,000 or less than 1% of your submitted sales, I think it is off the top of my head. It's Friday morning, it's a bit early for this. Then you can just put a correction in place in your next VAT return. If it's bigger than that, then you just need to contact HMRC and file and fill out the right forms so that they're aware of it, and they'll tell you whether they want you to correct it in the next return or if you need to refile via a different form. So I hope that helps. Excuse me a minute. Got a question in from Jan on Facebook Messenger. Good morning, Johann. Do you know if the criteria for the R&D rebate is strict, and do you know how much that will be? So the way that they look at research and development is they look at your project, they look at the costs incurred. So if we take, for example, developing a new food item and the way we cook it and prep it ready for a menu, that could look at all the food that you've brought in to trial the recipe, and you might trial the recipe numerous times. It also takes into account wages, could take into account some of the subcontractor costs if there was any. It could take into account if there was any equipment brought for that project that will never be used again for anything else. So it looks at various different things. It looks at the project itself, and then you come up with that cost, and you'll get a percentage of that cost back. But that percentage may well change in the next budget in next week. Again, it's one of those things where you really need to speak to a specialist or your accountant. Most accountants have a rough idea on R&D when it comes to it. We've got someone in our firm that will look at it for you. But yeah, it's making sure it's understanding the full project and the full costs involved and what can and can't be claimed, because yes, they are strict about can they claim this, can they claim that. So it's really important that you have a chat with someone rather than just doing it yourself and thinking you understand the rules. To be fair to HMRC, the R&D part of their website is actually quite self-explanatory, and it's fairly simply worded, which is a bit of a odd thing for HMRC, shall we say. They can often overword things and make things really difficult to understand, but their research and development information on their website is very clear. So if you're not sure, go there first, understand it yourself. If then you still need help, go and find an expert. Right, Bethany from Facebook Messenger. Morning. We're going to be allowed to reopen this week as we run a small gift shop. I was wondering the best ways to help me budget for it, as we do want to open, but are nervous about it if there's not enough customers in the door at first. Appreciate any advice. Okay, Bethany. We've been doing this a lot recently. So if you've got something like QuickBooks has got a great tool. It's got a cash flow planner in it. If that's a bit too basic for what you're looking for and you need something more powerful, then talk to something like Float app. That's a cash flow tool. It's really specific. You can look at day by day. It's really, really powerful. We use that ourselves. But even if you want to go right back to basics, create a spreadsheet, work out how much it costs to run your business on a day-to-day basis, and then work out how many items you need to sell to generate enough income to cover all those costs. So you need to look at utilities, staffing, rates, and then you need to look at all your fixed costs. Then you need to look at things like, right, how much profit do I make from each postcard I sell or each chocolate box I sell? And how many boxes do I need to sell to generate enough profit to cover all those fixed costs? So yeah, have a look at all of that, and then you'll know a daily target in your shop of how much you need to take in your business to generate enough money to cover your costs. And if after a week you're not making that enough money day by day averaged over the week, then you need to consider what your options are and how you're going to get either more business in. So you might need to push on social media, There's been a lot of people pushing their business on social media, getting the hype up, even by just telling people about these are the new rules of how we're going to follow social distancing stuff. It builds a bit of hype, it builds a bit of excitement. People get excited to come back to your store. Or you need to look at it and say, well, actually, I don't think I'm going to achieve these costs at this amount of sales. Can I reduce my costs somewhere? Which is why flexible furlough's there. You might open on reduced hours, which means your staff aren't going to be there for as long. Or you might decide, actually, I'm going to give it a couple of weeks, let tourism build up for a bit, and then I'll reopen. But if you want any helping hands with that, get in touch with your accountant, your bookkeeper, get in touch with us via our website. We've got some useful stuff on our YouTube channel for budgeting and cash flow as well. But yeah, it can be as simple as either an Excel spreadsheet or a bit of pen and paper. Not a big fan of pen and paper. I'd rather the automation that QuickBooks and Float give me. But in this case, just plan out what your daily costs are, how much income you're going to generate or need to generate, and work out if you think, based on previous years, is that viable? You're in tourism country really with a gift shop. I wouldn't be looking at what you normally generate in July. I'd be looking at what you normally generate in October, November, December, and use that as a ground basis as to what's realistic to achieve. Tourism's going to take a while to build back up. So, I've got a question from Clyde from Twitter DM. Good morning. How do we calculate usual hours for employees whose hours and pay varies in relation to furlough? So this is a really slightly complicated one. Basically, you've already calculated, if we put it in simple terms, you've already calculated their usual hours by paying out the furlough each week or each month. So if you calculated that their usual hours for the last few months while they've been on furlough was 25 hours, and they've now worked 5 hours a week, then you would pay 5 hours at 100%, 20 hours at 80%. So it's simple as that if you boil it right down. But I really recommend going to HMRC website, checking out their calculator, talking to your accountant or your bookkeeper or your payroll person, and just make sure you're fully understanding what that is, the rules and how it works before you bring someone back and start paying them and getting it wrong, because you wouldn't want to pay them too little and they gets you into trouble. You don't want to overpay them because you can't afford that financially, and you won't want to claim furlough and realise you can't claim something and then the employee is out of pocket themselves. So yeah, the usual hours is based on what you've already paid them on furlough minus however many hours they've actually worked. George from Instagram DM. Hi Johann, even if our employees are on furlough, can we request that they do staff training which is required within the business? Yes, ultimately. So the rules are that the employee is still an employee and they can do various things while on furlough. One is they can have paid holiday. You just need to bring it up to 100% so you don't suffer. And the second thing is they can attend training for the business. So for example, you might want to bring them in to do training on the new rules and processes for social distancing. You might want to retrain on food safety, health and safety. You might want to bring them up to speed with a new menu or new products or new services. So yes, you can bring them in on training during their furlough time. So that's absolutely fine. Just double check the HMRC website for furlough support and just read into the training part of what you can and can't train them on. But it's pretty broad. So yes, that's absolutely fine. You can do that within the furlough rules. That's not an issue. Because ultimately they are still your employees, whether they are on furlough or working normal hours. We've got a question from Cam in Twitter DM. Do you think now is the best time to use cloud software to manage accounts? Cam, I think 5 years ago was the best time to start using cloud software for your accounts. My firm's started 3 years ago, and from day one we used cloud accounting software. And from day one, we encouraged our clients to use cloud accounting software. And cloud accounting software has just become more and more powerful. and it really hasn't gone up that much in price either over those 3 years. It's maybe increased a couple of pounds over the 3 years, which is well below the average inflation rate. The time you're going to save on cloud accounting is incredible. The extra tools and insights you're going to see into your data is just mind-blowing. If you just keep a pile of receipts and then pass it to an accountant once a year, all that data you're getting is just historic. It's not really much you can do about it. It's too late. It's happened. It's been. Whereas if you're using a tool like QuickBooks and you, like me, and first thing I do in the morning, boot up QuickBooks, sit there, I reconcile my bank quickly with all my transactions, do it daily, 3 or 4 transactions a day, nice and easy. But what I then do is I go to a report and I can see what I'm doing for this week compared to last week, compared to last month, compared to last year. That data's all at the fingertips. And if I can see, oh Christ, I'm suddenly struggling, I'm not doing as well as I did last week. Why is that? I'm not doing as well as last year. Why is that? Or I'm doing even better. Why is that? It gives you the opportunity to have real insights into your business and make educated choices based on those figures as to whether you need new staff members, whether you can expand, whether you need to reduce the amount of you spend on certain aspects. I love my software, but I keep getting told by my QuickBooks software I need to reduce my software bills because I'm spending far too much. But yeah, today I would personally say you're already 3 years too late to the game, but there's no day like today to start. QuickBooks is really easy. Get a 30-day free trial. Just plug your bank accounts in. Start entering your receipts using the QuickBooks receipt capture tool. You can start looking at the cash flow in your QuickBooks accounts. You can look at your reports. It's just there. It's easy. It's fantastic. So last question from Vena. Sorry, I'm terrible with names. With a new flexible furlough, what about benefits such as health insurance, gym membership, etc.? Are they included in the scheme? So benefits that you pay for on your employee's behalf are not included in any of the furlough claims. So if you pay for someone's gym membership, you can't claim that back through the government. All you can claim back was the pay, national insurance, tax, and pensions up until the end of July, and then that's going to start changing. But yeah, you can't claim that stuff through furlough, and you never could. So I hope that helps. Right, so we have come to the end of today's session. I hope those answers have helped. If you've got any more questions, then please get in touch with QuickBooks support team which are on Facebook, or myself and my team at JGBC. We're on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and our website, which is jgbc.co.uk. Google jgbc.co.uk. You can't really go wrong. We're all over that. So coming up on Ask the Expert on Monday is Karina Lepore, the winner of the 2019 apprenticeship, who received £250,000 investment from Lord Alan Sugar. Karina is the owner of a dough bakehouse, an independent bakery, with exciting plans to open up several new sites this year and next year. So make sure you tune in for that. I met Nick, I think his name was, one of the original British apprenticeship winners a few years back at a QuickBooks conference I attended in 2017. And he was fantastic to listen to as a speaker. He was really inspirational. Had a really good chat with him over a beer at the end of the session as well. These guys really learn a lot from their surroundings and Alan Sugar. So it's really worthwhile tuning in and having a listen to them. And a reminder that if you need any more advice, join the official Intuit QuickBooks SMB community group on Facebook. There's accountants and business experts there 24/7. I hope today's been useful for you. As I say, if you need to find me, it's jgbc.co.uk. Thank you very much and stay safe.